Welcome to this series on chaos destruction. In this video, we'll be covering how to record your chaos cache and Niagara cache at the same time to ensure they sync up properly. Unfortunately, there are quite a few steps to do this, so I created a PDF checklist file that you can download to help guide you through the process. The individual steps themselves are not difficult at all. There's just a bunch of them. The link to the PDF file will be in the description below. So you may be asking yourself, why is this so important to know? Why do I need to record 2 cache files? Doesn't the Chaos Cache Manager record everything? Well, the Chaos Cache Manager will record your destruction simulation, but it doesn't include the Niagara particles with it. In order to record the Niagara particles, you need to use the Niagara Sim Cache. The other issue is that the chaos simulation is not deterministic, meaning it's not exactly repeatable. So you just can't record your chaos cache, then reset your scene and record your Niagara particles. Because when you play them both together, your particles won't be synced up with your fractures, like in the case with trailing particles. And to make matters worse, the way you record a chaos cache is not the same process used for a Niagara cache. On the positive side, the overall process isn't difficult at all. There's just a lot of little steps that you can't skip. So let's get started. As usual, here we are in our scene with our geometry collection pillar that's already been fractured. I've also set up a trailing smoke Niagara system and a master field to apply the forces we need to fracture our geometry collection. Let's run the simulation to see how it looks. Now let's run through the steps to record this into a fully cached simulation. In our content drawer, let's create a folder called Level SEQ for our level sequences. Right-click and select Level Sequence and name it ls_CCC_NSC_record. CCC is our Chaos Cache Collection, and NSC is our Niagara Sim Cache. Now drag this level sequence into our scene. In the Details panel for this level sequence, make sure Autoplay is disabled. Double-click to open up the level sequence. First, make sure it's set to 30 FPS. By default, Chaos does its sampling at 30 FPS, so our level sequence needs to match this. Let's extend the recording time to 30 seconds. On the sequencer slider bar, set the working range end to 30. On the sequencer controls bar, set the playhead position to 30. Now click on the red bracket to move the timeline end position to the current playhead position. Next, let's create a new folder to store our cache assets. Name it Cache. Open up that folder and let's create our Niagara Sim Cache asset. Right-click and select FX, then select Niagara Simulation Cache, and name it NSC_Trails Cache. Next, we'll create our Chaos Cache Collection. In the outliner, select your Pillar Geometry Collection. In the menu bar, select Actor, then select Chaos, then Create Cache Manager. Let's place it in our cache folder and call it CCC_pillar. Now let's trigger our master field external strain force from the level sequence. From the outliner, drag the Pillar Geometry Collection and the master field into the level sequence. Click the plus sign on the master field track and select Event, then select Trigger to add an event track to the timeline. Position the playhead at frame 0 and add a keyframe to the event track. Double-click on the keyframe to open up the director blueprint for the sequencer. Drag off the master field blue pin and search for the CE_trigger function. When this keyframe is triggered, this will call the function to fire off our master field external strain force. Compile and save this blueprint. In your outliner, select the master field and in the details panel, search for activation type and change this to trigger. This tells the master field that the level sequence will trigger when the master field gets fired. Next, let's trigger the recording of our Chaos Cache Manager. In your outliner, drag your Chaos Cache Manager into your level sequence. Click the plus sign on the Chaos Cache Manager track and select Event, then select Trigger to add an event track to the timeline. Position the playhead at frame 0 and add a keyframe to the event track. Double-click on the keyframe to open up the director blueprint again. Drag off the Chaos Cache Manager's blue pin and search for the Trigger All function. When this keyframe is triggered, this will call the function to begin recording our Chaos Cache. Compile and save this blueprint. In your outliner, select the Chaos Cache Manager and in the Details panel, search for Mode and set the Start Mode to Triggered. This tells the Chaos Cache Manager that the recording will be initiated by our level sequence. While we're here, also verify that the cache mode is set to Record. Finally, let's set up the trigger to begin the recording of our Niagara sim cache. In the outliner, drag the white trailing smoke Niagara system into the level sequence. Click the plus sign on the Niagara system track and select Niagara component to add a Niagara component track to the timeline. Click the plus sign on the Niagara component track and select Niagara System Lifecycle track. On this track, click the drop-down and select Desired Age. Also make sure this track extends the full length of the timeline. Click the plus sign on the Niagara component track again, and this time select Niagara Cache to add a Niagara Cache track to the timeline. Right-click on this track and select Edit Section. Then click on the drop-down for the sim cache. Select the NSC_trails cache file and assign it to this track. Okay, the level sequence is now all set up and ready to record our caches. Position the playhead about -3 seconds before frame 0. This way everything waits a few seconds before they start up. Click on the Simulate button to put the scene into simulation mode. Next, press the red button on the Niagara sim cache in the sequencer. This will start running the level sequence and start the recording of the Niagara trailing smoke effect. Once the entire level sequence plays in full, stop the simulation and save the level sequence. The Niagara sim cache track should now reflect that it has recorded our frames. You should also be able to scrub through the level sequence. It will only play back the Niagara sim right now. We'll fix that in the playback section next. In your content drawer, right-click on the level sequence and select Duplicate. Rename it to Playback and double-click it to open it up. Let's start with some cleanup. Remove the following tracks from this level sequence: Chaos Cache Manager track, the Master Field track, the Pillar Geometry Collection track, and finally the Niagara System Lifecycle track. In the outliner, remove the following actors from the scene: the Record level sequence actor, the Chaos Cache Manager actor. When you do this, Unreal will give you a reference warning because it's being used by the record level sequence. You can either ignore the warning and continue with the delete, or manually remove it from the record level sequence first, then delete it from the outliner. I'm just going to delete it right here. Move the pillar geometry collection off to the side. It's not needed for the playback. In the content drawer, locate the CCC_pillar chaos cache collection and drag it into the scene, and reset its location in the details panel so it's placed in its original position. In the outliner, select the CCC pillar and set the cache mode equal to static pose. This tells Unreal Engine that the sequencer will control it. Next, drag the CCC pillar from the outliner into the level sequence. Click the plus sign on the CCC pillar track and select Start Time. Move the playhead to frame 0 and add a keyframe. Back in the content drawer, find the CCC pillar asset and double-click it to open it up. Look for recorded duration and make note of the value. Only one position after the decimal point is needed. Then close this window. Back in our playback level sequence, move the playhead to this position on the timeline. It's okay if it's beyond the 30 seconds we defined. Add another keyframe to the start time track and enter the recorded duration value here also. Now select both keyframe markers, right-click, and change their key interpolation setting to linear. This ensures this track plays exactly as recorded. If you don't do this part, your simulation will be out of sync. At this point, you should be able to scrub through the timeline and see the fracturing taking place along with the Niagara smoke trails effect. Now drag our playback level sequence into the scene. In the details panel, search for autoplay and enable this setting. Now when you click play, you should see your full chaos simulation play in your game, along with the Niagara smoke trails effect. That concludes this tutorial on how to record the Chaos Cache and Niagara Cache simulations together. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.